It's September 2023, and the Waggonway team has returned to Cockenzie Harbour to dig for more remains of the salt pans and Waggonway lines which brought the coal for the furnaces. The team is keen to find out more about the pans at the harbour and how they functioned, and evidence which can tell us more about the construction of early railways. As the site is prepared, Chief Archaeologist Alan Braby briefs the team on what was found in previous exploratory excavations.
One of our 2023 big dig. We're on site, we're back at the salt pan again that we excavated. We've put 2 trenches in here this time. We're going for a larger area. We've been in the area you can just see backfilled there. We've lifted the modern path and we're going up to basically here this year. So that's our limit of excavation. So hopefully we'll get the whole width of the building. We've got a machine coming in to get through all this hard packed redeposited stuff that we couldn't get through by hand in the previous seasons. So yeah, we're starting on this side, stripping back, and then we're going to get the machine in, hit down here, get down to the brick, archaeology for the flues, and get the earlier salt pan house underneath. That comes all the way along there to a turntable, and then the other line comes down there. So we've got those 2 stones there, and you can see what we've done is they're not paired.
And that's staggered joints.
Because it's coming around the corner.
Yep.
It's failed at some stages on the outward side because that's getting the most weight, I would imagine. That stone's cracked. Actually no, that stone cracked, and they replaced it with a big block of timber and reset the chair in the timber, and then packed it with clay. We've got the grooves for the fish belly rails, but because this has become bouncy,
the team is digging in an area shown in a mid-19th century painting of Cockenzie Harbour by an unknown artist, uncovered in the East Lothian Council museum stores. The Cockenzie salt pans were established in 1630, when the Earl of Winton constructed 12 salt pan houses. Change came in 1722, when the new owners of the Winton estate, the London-based York Buildings Company, facilitated the construction of a wooden waggonway to improve the carriage of coal to the salt pan furnaces. Local wright William Dixon built and oversaw multiple phases of its development through the early 18th century. Following purchase of the coal and salt industries in Tranent and Cockenzie by the Cadell family in 1779, schemes were proposed to develop both the salt pans and the waggonway. Hugh Francis Cadell took that leap in 1815, upgrading the waggonway from wood to an iron-edged railway, and then in 1833 oversaw the rebuilding of Cockenzie Harbour, with Robert Stevenson designing new quaysides to create a commodious haven suitable for accommodating larger ships. With new research into the Stevenson collection adding to the cartographical evidence we have of the harbour, the team are hopeful that new evidence can be found of the buildings and waggonway lines around the harbour. The archaeologists are uncovering a trench first dug in 2017, and the stone sleeper blocks of the waggonway are revealed as the protective coverings are removed. Now that the Waggonway siding is revealed, the details uncovered spark discussion amongst the diggers about problems with this type of railway construction.
The wheel is forcing it that way,
Yes.
and the pin is also forcing it that
forcing
way,
it in.
so it keeps the whole thing
And
tight.
so when you get a lateral coming out of the curve, there's a hell of a force that way.
really, yes, yes.
So the only thing the boat can do is either shift that way or
Yes,
tilt.
yes, but did they have a break through there?
I've never seen them broken.
Right, so
I've seen them broken there with the bolts
Yeah,
going through.
Yeah.
Which is the weakest part of the casting.
yes.
As the day draws to a close and the navvies pack up and head for a well-earned pint, Alan and Anthony round up what has been uncovered and have formed a plan for how to progress into the weekend.
Not bad for a first day.
No.
We've opened up the trench, our very, very first trench from 2017 again, on the line of this spur that comes down to a turntable and then out onto the harbour. We've got our staggered sleeper blocks, as we saw before, and they're staggered for going round the corner, aren't they?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we're using cast iron fish belly rail, so it's thinner at the ends and thicker in the middle. Cast to a certain length, the only way they can make that going around a curve with fixed geometry is to stagger the joints so you can actually get it forming a sort of curve. It will like
Yeah.
an old-fashioned threepenny bits banging and jolting as it goes all
yes,
the way around.
yes. Yeah, excellent. And the only thing we were not seeing this time, although they are in there, is we got the grooves from the bottom of the fish belly rails between the blocks. They survived the first time, although a decent clean when it's slightly more moist will show them. But what we had the last time, Anthony, that you never saw, although we've got impressions in the ground, we've got the ghost of a timber across that end, and we removed a surviving timber from in there in our first season. So obviously this side of the line has become unstable, and they've basically tried to prop it up, obviously,
Yeah.
because the outside as it goes round is taking more weight, I would imagine. Yeah,
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 I'm trying to prop up the middle of the fish bellies as well to support the rail,
yeah,
which you see on other lines like Liverpool and Manchester.
yeah, yeah. And we reckon we're missing a stone from in there. In all probability, there's a sleeper block missing from there, given the gap between them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't know where that's gone. So yeah, so we're gonna our plans for here now. We're going to extend further towards the tarmac, and then we're going to go off a dog leg because there's various stones just hinting through the modern surface there, just where Ant is. It's looking odd, so we don't know if there's anything else lurking in there. So we'll have a look at that over the next couple of days. And then our main focus is going to be this trench here, which is our salt pan house, which we've partially opened. We've got the wall in the foreground. We've got the remains of the big superstructure for the flues for the mid-19th century use of it there. We're going to machine down the rest of it tomorrow and get to the original deposits, or the last use deposits, over the next couple of days.
As a misty morning dawns on day 2, the archaeologists are back on site with CFA Archaeology providing technical support to the volunteers. The team are also investigating another location relating to an early 18th century glassworks, the remnants of which are now buried in the back gardens of houses in Port Seaton. Gareth Jones is leading that excavation.
Right, so I think technically this is day 2, is it? I think of the dig. So we're on day 2, but it's the first day that we're here, and we've come back into Weems Place, number 10, which is a house that we looked at when we did the garden digs. If you remember that a few years ago, we went into people's gardens. one of the owners here has allowed us to come back into his garden, basically because his tatty patch has all been dug up, and true to form, there we go, we've found in our first taking off the topsoil a few of his tatties, which I have to say are particularly poor looking, but I wouldn't tell him that. However, we're now starting to get down, so getting down towards lunchtime, getting down into some archaeology, and we're starting to find some really, well, if you're interested in glass, these are really quite interesting. So there's the sort of waste that we would expect to find, which is glass that's just failed or it's dripped out of things. And we've also found this kind of thing. This is a particularly large piece of crucible. So this is the big pot that the glass was made in. This one has catastrophically failed, and you can see that it's got large crack through it. In fact, there's glass running through the veins in the crack. It must have been cracking before it actually failed completely. And that's just a completely wasted batch of glass from that. So this has been tossed aside just as waste. We've got Helen Spencer and Jill Turnbull here, who are experts in glass in their own ways, looking very closely at what we've got. There's actually very little from the glassworks in Port Seaton that survives. Where we are now is within maybe 50 metres of the one building that we do know that was related to the glassworks, which was under the bungalow at the corner. Johnny Cope's house, or the ink bottle, or the pavilion, it's known at various times. So we're not very far away from it, but come and have a quick look in the trench. You won't see much because there's so much sunlight. It's all very, very steep shadows. We're starting to get a surface, and this is all mortar with clay within it. There's brick, there's stone, and there's obviously pieces of this waste glass and other things coming out of this as well. So this is us just starting to come onto the archaeology now. So when you come back a little bit later on, maybe at the end of the day, we'll hopefully be down into this and we'll be able to tell you a bit more about it.
Meanwhile, back at the main dig site in Cockenzie, the team are progressing and covering some exciting remains, which tell us how the 19th century Waggonway was constructed.
What you're going to get in here is like landfill. You're going to have no coherent layers you can chase. It's all going to be small, just dumps of everything. In effect,
Because then at this side of it, it's different again. It's like a sandy garden soil almost.
Yes. I think I suspect everything went in there, including a bit of a boat. We've got a big stern post and rudder pintles lying against the wall there, about 1.5 meters down.
So this is our sleeper trench on day 2. It's Friday, it's 12 o'clock. It's not quite crackerjack time, but we've been busy working here, and we've got some lovely features coming up. So what we have is this. This is a very hard, pebbly, filled with coal type surface, and we think this is the horseway which the horses walked on, and these sleeper blocks are set in it. However, at some point, someone has come along and dug a dirty great big hole. You can see the cut of it here, coming round into there, and it's filled with all this shelly refuse, midden material that they're digging out by the hundredweight over there. But underneath this material here, we've got coming up, we have a compacted clay surface right at the very bottom with these medium-sized cobbles set into it. That's perhaps a surface. But if you can come round this side, we can look in section. We've got this very big stone block which is slightly skew-if, but we can see that this midden shelly deposit comes underneath here, underneath the block, and then there's levelling and packing material beneath that. So at some point this has come out and been put back in and packed in with all this shell midden material. On this side, this block is sat on top of this clay layer, and there's levelling up material under it, and these are bits of pan tile which are part of this level and underneath there to pack it in. However, we come over to the other side of the track and we have something completely different. This side, we've just got this dark, small curly sheet, athy, whatever we've got. But yet on the other side, we've got a very thin layer of it just on top, there to there, with bits of degraded tile and whatnot in it. But then we're coming straight down onto this redeposited beach sand. So that's the material that Robert Stevenson dredged out of there and used to backfill and to fill in the harbour walls. So we're expecting over lunchtime, when we take this bulk out here, to see something happening here. You'd thought it'd be the same over both sides, but it isn't. But again, here we have the hard, small coaly horse walk, but then again, coming up here again, just underneath this is the thin lens, we've got more of the redeposited sand on that side. So it's going to look very pretty once we've dug this section. What's going on, I have no idea, other than this block is clearly out of situ. We know they dug a drain here, so this could have been plopped back in with that, hence it being backfilled with all the shell. But if it just been a case of a backfilling, there'd have been no point. This is beautifully level, there'd have been to just put it back in again. Same with this block, this is cracked in antiquity. They've tried to mend it. There's original bolt holes for the chair there, there's remains of iron pins there, and leading as well, like an iron staple leaded in to hold this thing together. So one of the things we'll do today is we'll lift this and we'll be able to properly tell the story of that block and understand better how they made this permanent way.
Right, okay, what we're at the moment is we're still machining off all the late debris. You can see where the guys are working there. It's predominantly redeposited shell midden. It's all scallop shells that have been dumped in the demolished pan house. So we're machining that out at the moment. We've got a large pile of collapsed sandstone blocks there, which is potentially, if it's not something internal, it's actually part of the structural walls of the pan house itself that have been pushed in. So we're defining that at the moment. There's some nice late pottery coming out of it, sort of creamware, a really nice intact blue poison bottle probably. So we're getting sort of some nice finds coming out of it, all late. Hopefully by the end of the day we'll have the trench open and we'll be able to sort of start defining some of the features the decayed sandstone walls are hinting at appearing through the late deposits. With the siding trench just here, we've done lots of 3D photography for making a 3D model, and Anthony is just putting a small sondage over at the moment to try and find out the makeup that the sleeper blocks are setting in. So we will find that properly out in the next couple of hours as well.
Welcome back to the Waggonway. It's now the afternoon of day 2 and we're extending our sleeper trench, which we started yesterday, putting a nice section across it. But really excitingly, we found 2 more sleeper blocks in situ. This one here with the Eye of Faith. We have iron here. Those are the jaws of a cast iron chair which the ends of the rails would have sat in, and they were held in place with an iron key hammered in. On this side we have another sleeper block that again staggered joints because it's going around the corner. You can see here it's made of red sandstone. We've got iron staining all the way around both of these holes from where the chain was. That is iron. There's a bit of more iron there, and this is a wooden peg which came out of that hole because the way the chairs were fastened to the sleeper was a hole was drilled, a square wooden peg was hammered in, the chair put on, and then a long iron nail was bred into that, spread the wood to fill the hole, and that secured that to the sleeper block. Also excitingly, and this isn't part of the railway, we think the railway is later than this, we have what is clearly a masonry structure, 10-15 centimetres wide, cut by the rail as it comes around the curve. Didn't know this was here, can't find it on any plans, but we knew from the last time we excavated here, that's coming across at this point, there's a wall at 90 degrees, which could be related to the structure we're starting to see emerging down the length of this trench here. It's coming all the way down here. So really quite exciting. Hoping to find another sleeper block here. There should be another one in the vault there. So stay tuned and we'll let you know what's happening at tea time.
As Dave the Digger extends the Waggonway trench for us, and as the afternoon draws in, yet more sleeper blocks start to emerge from the ground, just in time for a visit from the Dig It Scotland team, along with some young volunteers who want to get their hands dirty.
End of day 2. As you can see, our big yellow trowel, our machine has gone. We've done a sterling job today. Everybody's working their bits off in the baking heat. What we've now got, we've cleared a big chunk of the interior of the pan house. We have the west wall here, which we knew from various excavations in the past. We've now got what's left of the east wall there. You can just see running across the trench. In front of that, the red stuff is all decayed brickworks, bricks that are forming part of the later flue system within the pan building itself. So you can see it's just been full of basically tons and tons of scallop shells, and you can see them all in the spoil heap in the background. So we've defined the width of the pan. We know how far it goes that way. And it goes to where the slabs are laid across the far side. Over the next 2 days, we're going to concentrate in the interior. We've got this pile of collapsed masonry we're going to remove. It's been recorded in the past, that can go tomorrow morning. We'll define the brickwork for the later reuse of the pan house, and hopefully find hints of the earlier superstructure for the 1630 pan house surviving beneath them, if they survive. So that's the next 2 days. In the trench behind us, our siding trench, our Waggonway trench, we've got the sleeper blocks, and I will pass that over to Ant to talk about that.
Okay, so we'll start from the harbour end. We've taken out Big Bertha, the broken sleeper block that was here. We know from the previous excavation that they tried to fasten the thing together with a block of wood and lead and staples, but on lifting it we found in the crack there was mortar. It was actually sat on a bed of sand and actually a bed of mortar when this was actually set in place. But what we've actually come down onto is this surface here, which we initially thought might have been demolition rubble from the salt pan to my left, but we're starting to think that now perhaps this is a surface associated with the salt pans over there. And what they've done to build the Waggonway, you can see is a pit dug through it here, a pit here, another big pit here to put the blocks in, and then they've been packed in with this hard, small coaly material, bits of shell, bits of coal, general grot, to pack it in as a ballast and to provide the walkway for the horse in between. With this chap here, again, we know this has been messed about with, and we can see in this rather lovely section how we've got the original pit here that's been cut by this secondary stone pit that's backfilled with all this shelly midden deposit, and there is no way that this midden deposit would have been able to hold that block in place, which is probably why it's shifted. So tomorrow's job is to treat this as a sundial, to take this away and to go down to that surface and then go through it and see what's actually underneath. Moving to the other end of the trench, this is one of the simpler blocks we had at lunchtime. The other one with the chair is there, but rather excitingly what we have here is a rather large and impressive bit of masonry wall. So I'm straddling it here, so it's at least a metre wide, running parallel to the rails, but probably of an earlier phase. It's associated with this, which we found in a previous year, and this butts onto the salt pan. So tomorrow's task will be cleaning this back, defining the relationship between this bit of wall and that, sorting out the relationship there, and also what the relationship is at this point, because this little space in here is clearly not a room. This is a space defined by later buildings, and if this is a wall, perhaps we might find the rest of that building in here destroyed by, truncated by, or associated with the later Waggonway. So that's it from the Waggonway end of day 2. See you all tomorrow.
And as the day ends, there's intriguing news from the Glassworks excavation. Here's Gareth and Helen with a story.
This is the finds from the trench that's not a trench, because we're not really officially doing a trench at the Glassworks this year. But anyway, because we've had the opportunity to go in, we've gone in and we've started digging, and we've gone through some really interesting stuff today, actually. If you like, snots of glass and all kinds of bits of...
do,
yeah. So, so I think what we talked about this morning was stuff that has come out of the topsoil, where the tatties were. There's a real assortment of stuff in here. We know all of this post-dates the Glassworks, either the Glassworks or it post-dates it. I mean, that was the bit that we looked at this morning. This is a big bit of crucible. There's lots of bits of glass. That's maybe glass that's been something that's later.
Bottle,
yeah, bottle or something. There's bits, little tasters of bits of glass that are fused, failed.
Window glass.
Yeah.
Nail. So an iron nail.
So I think we're looking here at something that's this is Glassworks and beyond. So we've got some later stuff.
All disturbed in the garden from planting potatoes.
Yeah. So the next layer that we found. So we started getting down onto a layer that was rubble, which maybe comes from the sort of date that the Glassworks was being demolished or alterations were being made. There's more, as you would expect. There's more of the waste. I mean,
these two bits are really nice. They're quite blue coloured glass, but these are basically melted chunks of glass which would have been from the Glassworks that have solidified, so they're not an object to anything. You can see the different colours of blue, so that's where the glass hasn't been mixed fully. So this is all from the process of making glass. So there's quite a bit of that in there. That's another wee chunk of it as well. There's a few bits and bobs of glass. So this is a neck of a bottle. So this may have been for cullet, so rather than something that was made at the glass house, it was probably brought in to be chopped up and put into the mix, into the crucible that helps the glass fuse to make new glass, as well as the raw materials. You'd always put chunks of cullet in.
Right, what about that?
So we weren't really sure what this was, but one of our helpers here today has come up with the idea that it might be a piece of a graphite, like a graphite pencil, which may have been from the glass house. I think you found one of these before from another one of the glass house trenches as well, which may have been used to mark out, for example, drawing on the glass where it was to be cut. So is that
the kind of thing, if you'd done a disc to make glass, to make crown glass,
You marked it out.
you would
on
then mark
out the squares. So there are drawings where they mark out the squares using a big ruler, so they know where to cut to basically make best use of the big circle of glass. So you're getting the most out of it, and you're making all the panes the same size. So that could have been used for that.
So that layer we felt was getting back to the period that the glassworks was going out of use or was being demolished. We then got down to a layer which has lots of waste from the glassworks. So this is the kind of thing that you were saying, Helen, that just...
Yeah, so these are drips. These would have been when they were making the glass would have been melted in a crucible, and when they were taking the glass out of the crucible, bits of glass, the molten glass would just drip before it could be made into anything. Sometimes it's cut off as well, so we've got quite a few bits that are drips, things like that as well. You can see, so these are all again evidence of actually making the glass in the glassworks. Although this wasn't the precise site of the glasswork, this has all probably been stuff that's been taken from the actual furnace itself and dumped close by. But it's clear evidence of the glasses being made there as well.
Yeah, so there's no doubt when you find this that you're looking at a site that is a glassworks.
Yes, yeah. You're not going to get this sort of thing, anywhere else. This is showing this is the manufacture of glass. This sort of thing here. So, whereas if you get bits of things like the bottles, you can find all sorts of places you can find bits of bottles, but this sort of thing, this is manufacture and a glass furnace.
Okay, so this is what I expected to find. Lots of this. I was hoping to find more crucible. We didn't.
No. But this is all mixed in a really charcoaly layer as well. So which suggests sort of burning waste from the furnace, from the fuel.
Right. So in the trench that we've got though, I wasn't very optimistic. I thought that we'd come to the natural because there was lots of sand. Scraping away the sand is to go a little bit deeper though. There were other layers going on before it, and I think for the first time in the glassworks site we've come down to something that is possibly predating
earlier,
predating the glassworks. So under all of this waste there's demolition rubble which has had a brick wall built on top of it, which we'll show you later on over the weekend. And interestingly, in amongst all the demolition rubble there is a lot of tile, lots of bits. I mean, you would think they were pan tile. I'm not convinced that the profile of them is right for pan tile. Anyway, it's probably parts of a roof. It's in amongst demolition rubble, and in that demolition rubble there's some dressed stone as well. Yeah,
we've got one really nice bit that's got the corner of a cube of stone, and you can see the chisel marks in this as well, so it's a substantial bit of stone. Although most of the rest of it was more sort of rubbly stone, but this was underneath the rubble.
Right.
So
yeah, so I think, do you think I agree with the plan should be to keep going and to bottom out what's going on with this?
Yeah. So we've talked about on the way back from the trench, going underneath where the tile is and seeing if we can actually find a floor surface or find out what actually is going on underneath this tile, if it is rubble. But it's interesting, that it is underneath at the moment, as far as we can tell, underneath the glass, the glass waste.
I mean, I think we know that this is early 1700s, so
that's got to be dated to when we know the glass furnace was in operation, which is a very short window of time.
Yeah.
So.
And we're probably back down to the 17th century where we're getting into this, or possibly back to the 17th century. We haven't found anything to date it yet, but we've got another couple of days still to keep looking. So come back, and we'll try again tomorrow.
It's a scorcher in Cockenzie on day 3, and taking advantage of the only shade available, Alan runs us through the strategy for the day.
Right, okay, well in this trench here, Anne and everybody have been doing a sterling job. I think we've now fairly conclusively, unless the idea is going to change again, which is impossible,
It's archaeology.
every single sleeper block seems to be dug in its own stone hole through the surface here. That seems to be what it's showing. So we've lifted a big broken one here, which has been repaired quite a few times. That's in the CFA building at the moment. With this small sondage, we're going to go down until we can see basically non-Waggonway related context, and then treat it as a proper sondage and just go see what we can get as we go down. In the big trench, as you saw from our little video last night, we've got rid of the machining, done a fantastic job, taken all the overburden out. We're just starting to remove a big pile of collapsed and dumped rubble just in the middle, and probably by dinner time we'll be at a stage we can start, we'll have the brickwork defined, and we can start going down in the pan area in the middle of the building. There'll still be a lot of late Victorian rubbish to come out of it, but we can go through that quite fast.
Bonus extra for day 3 is taking place further up the Waggonway itself, at the place where it crosses the Preston Pans battlefield. Long-standing project partners Wessex Archaeology are leading a geophysical survey, with members of the public dropping in to lend a hand.
Morning everyone, we are out at the Waggonway field to the south of Cockenzie, where we're doing some geophysics training for members of the Waggonway Trust and the community in general. So we're currently using a fluxgate magnetometer for different arrays on a 4-prong cart, which is pushed by people up and down the field. What we're looking for on this is features connected to the Waggonway, maybe to connect to its construction. There should be a navvy camp somewhere along the length of the Waggonway, and we're roughly halfway along it here. Nice flat fields, and there's some information from the Alan Dixon accounts about him doing some privy construction for some sort of workers' camp in the area. And this seems like as good a place as any to find something like that. We're also in the area of the Battle of Preston Pans. We know, or there should be, grave sites from the Battle of Preston Pans potentially somewhere around here, so we also might find evidence for something approaching them. And we're also in an area where there is some known or suggested prehistoric settlement from crop marks and this sort of thing. These are a scheduled monument, so we have Section 42 permission from Historic Environment Scotland to do non-intrusive survey on that. The geophysics we're using is magnetometry, so there's no intrusive element, there's no going into the ground with it. It's purely looking at variations in the soil chemistry and the soil makeup to identify cut features, stone features or walls, anything that's not undisturbed soil. If we have a look at the map here, so we are currently standing roughly here at the top of the field next to the road. What we have is these circular or sub-circular features either side of the Waggonway. These have been interpreted as prehistoric settlement features. There's a lot of them across East Lothian. The flatlands in East Lothian have a really good ability to create crop marks, largely due to their use as agricultural fields and the differential soils that exist in it. We've also got this rectilinear square feature here. That could be part of a prehistoric settlement, but it's very rectangular. It's got nice sharp corners, which tends to mean relatively more recent. That has the potential to be something connected to the Waggonway. We won't get a dating evidence out of this because we're not going into the soil, we're not recovering artifacts, we're not excavating. But what we may be able to do is get a better idea of the wider features around these identified features. And from that we may be able to interpret additional archaeological features that could then be investigated in future years.
Back in Cockenzie, as yet more cast iron rail chairs are uncovered, Anthony explains what we can learn from these new finds.
So it's afternoon, day 3, it's absolutely blisteringly hot, but on the southern extension of our sweeper trench we have 1, 2, 3, 4 new sleepers. We found 2 of these the other day, but excitingly, down here we have sleeper block in situ, including its cast iron chair. It's very wee and dinky, it's very, very small, it's probably quite early, about 1815. And you can see 2 tops of 2 nails used to secure it, groove between the 2 jaws where the rail was secured. perhaps a hint of the pin. We have the grooves here where the fish bellies were, but also if we look at the iron staining around this, there's been perhaps another chair here, and that is just the top of another pin used to secure a similar chair but in a slightly different position. So the railing here running to sleeper block here, we've got one hole, second one coming through there on a slightly different alignment for a kink for the curve, talking about the threepenny bit shape of the curve, and then going through to the next one. Another rail in here, but then we have a mystery. These are about 3 foot spaced, so we've got one here, another block under here. We'd expect one here, but there is one missing. But in previous years we found this void for a timber sleeper. Quite what it was doing we're not sure, as it's not equidistant between the two blocks and it's very close to the newly discovered sleeper and chair there. We still think it was probably put in to support the rails at some point as it all became a bit rickety, but we'll keep you updated as we go along.
With the Waggonway Trench progressing well at the end of day 3, it's time to check back in with Alan at the Salt Pan Trench, where significant progress has been made.
End of day 3. Another gloriously hot day, as you can see, slightly windy. So unfortunately everything is drying out horribly. It's progressing rather well, although it looks very messy at the moment because we've shifted quite a lot of stuff. But it's telling a story very well. We've got both walls of the pan house building. We've now got this massive, great big brick intervention here. Just in front of us, you can see where we've gone down. We're beginning to get one of the ash pits coming through here. We're just getting the top of another one coming through there with a brick spine wall in the middle. So we've got 2 ash pits. We've got the flue for the chimney at the back, and we've got the decayed remains of the brick superstructure for the branders, and then with the pan at a higher level. We now know, which is slightly curious, and we weren't expecting, that the iron pan itself wasn't sitting centrally to the building. It's off to the right hand side of the building, and there would have been a walkway, a working platform along one side with the pan slightly to one side. So that's the story we've got at the moment. For tomorrow we're going to clean up the surfaces, slightly bits more digging down into the ash pits, clean up end of season, end of dig photography, and lots of drawing and recording. So that's tomorrow's task. So that's all we've been doing here. Ant has been doing sterling work with his crew on the Waggonway line coming through there.
Right, so here on the Waggonway Trench we have extended our trench to the south, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more sleepers forming part of this curve. But more excitingly, we have some iron, we have iron chairs, of which we have 3 in situ. But in terms of quality of preservation, coming in at number 4, we have a Grotty McGrot chair, which Ed found on the surface at the other end of the trench. It's just a block of concretion and iron. Coming in at number 2, we have Melty Melt Face, a slightly eroded chair, but it's in situ on its stone block. You can just see the outline of it and the concretion there, the jaws for the rails and the hint of a pin. Next, we have Cherry McChairface, slightly better quality. We've seen them before. They're coming up to the peak of quality of the Waggonway, but finally as our pièce de résistance, or the Domaine de Chevalier Grande Classe de Grave. We have underneath here, coming in at number 1, ta-da! We have the most beautiful in situ cast iron chair, jaw intact, both iron pins. You can see it beautifully sat on its sleeper block. Absolute pièce de résistance of this trench so far. Absolutely, if you're into that type of thing, that is a very beautiful rail chair. Jobs for tomorrow and cleaning up this area to see what is going on, and at the other end of the trench, at the seaward end, bottoming out our sondage, we've already reached a meter's depth, and we think we've probably found the drain at the bottom of it. So see you tomorrow.
As the navvies keep digging on day 4, it's another sweltering day. But that's not the only thing hotting up. An exciting discovery has been made at the Salt Pan Trench.
Right, Gary. This is a turn up, isn't it? This is exactly as Brownrigg drew this. It is going vertical, isn't it? From where you're down, it's just going straight vertically down into a rectilinear slot. So we were thinking we were coming to the bottom of this ash pit, where in fact we're nowhere near the bottom. And it's almost as you've had from your copy of the book, what Brownrigg drew is we've got the outside wall of the salt pan house here, which is what is just over there. We've got that slope coming down to the vertical edge just there, which is exactly what we've got there that Gary's been cleaning out. Coming down, sloping down to the vertical edge, dropping down. So, and then we've got this material here, which is clearly that material we've got there. And Gary has just noticed, can you go and point it out, Gary?
Just in the last 10 minutes.
Just in the last 10 minutes, which is just remarkable. Yeah. Yeah, it's just the one.
Just the one at this side. It's really heavily, there's iron there, it's all fused together with stone, so it's possibly just fused into stone over time.
Right.
As it's rusted away.
And that matches that there, which is the fire grate. So the fire would have been up on the surface of the grate there with the ash pit underneath. So with hindsight, I know it's probably not, but Brownrigg could have drawn this schematic section from this pan house. And even as Gary just pointed out, which we had noticed, we've realised that the pan is not central to the building, it's off to one side, exactly as, if you look at that distance there to there, it's twice that there to there. So again, this pan house, schematic though it is, has an offset pan. And that is just flipping remarkable. That is just astounding. So well done, Gary, mate. Well done entirely. That's brilliant. Yeah.
We have established a direct link by design between the salt pans at Cockenzie and William Brownrigg, the eminent doctor and scientist who recorded 18th century salt making practices and infrastructure in his 1748 publication, The Art of Making Common Salt. as the dig draws to a close and the site is drawn and photographed before backfilling. Alan and Anthony can tell us the story of our salt pan house and Waggonway which served it with fuel to make salt.
Right, okay, the end of our last day in the salt pan trench here, and it's turned out remarkably well once again. We seem to do this, we seem to land on our feet and everything seems to fall into place. If you remember the previous videos, what we've got the walls of the salt pan, the stone walls themselves. We know they go down about 2 meters. We've seen them in a sondage there. It's standing quite well preserved. The brickwork in here is amazing. It looks dreadful because basically of its age. You can see the state of the bricks. They're beginning to deteriorate just because of the heat generated from the furnaces and the flues underneath the pan itself. This morning it all sort of dovetailed into its place when Gary was working down in here. We knew, we saw what was happening yesterday, that the wall seems to be battered down, so it's coming down in a V shape. We were expecting it to go down and then have a flat bottom. What it transpires is happening is it does that, but at the depth you can see just down there, it goes down vertically into a vertical brick lined slot. We're nowhere near the bottom of that. We probed down and it goes down at least 1.60 meters. So what we've got is, you can see just in the side of the, and actually I've just noticed that that's actually stone built at the bottom. It's not brick, that's a stone wall at the bottom there. So I must make a note of that. Yeah, just inside the stonework, there's a couple of bits of iron sitting out. So what we think is that's the level of the fire grate coming over there. So the burning coal would have been put on the grate there. Everything underneath is the ash rake out pit, which has been raked out that way behind us. So you've got the fire pit here. The pan would have rested probably up about this height, with obviously the brine in it for boiling off there. The thing that's actually clicked in and basically astounded us, seriously astounded us, is Brownrigg's book, which is published in the about 1750 or something like that, has a schematic section of an ideal pan house. It shows brickwork like this. It shows a brick flue down to the grate and then the ash pits below, 2 of them. It shows a small walkway around that side and a wider walkway on that side. With hindsight, seeing what we've got in the ground and Brownrigg's schematic drawing, presumably about 1780, given the size of the bricks here, which is obviously when the Caddells took over, major money thrown at the refurbishment of the pans. That's when all the brickwork goes in, the brick flues, the refurbishment of it. He basically follows, he obviously had on his shelf in his office across the harbour there, he had a copy of Brownrigg's book, and he's opened it to that page and went, that's what I want. And basically that's what he got built. It's too close a coincidence for the exact layout. Asymmetrical pan this side of the building, wide walkway at that side, 2 flues narrowing down into the ash flue at the bottom. So that is just a quite remarkable bit of dovetailing the historic evidence from the documentary stuff in to the actual archaeology in the ground. We couldn't have planned that if we tried.
So it's close of play on day 4, one more day than Time Team ever gets, and we've got the full sleeper trench excavated, showing this row of staggered sleeper blocks coming round on this gentle curve. Each sleeper is offset and staggered because of the way the curve was built, using the short lengths of rail, only 3 foot long, so you get a polygonal curve rather than a smooth curve, with each rail being joined in one of these
in a chair. Well, just looking at this, it just shows how ephemeral stone railways like these are. The stone blocks aren't terribly massive, they're not terribly deep. This small coal ballast is hard, but it might not be great at keeping them in position, particularly in terms of keeping the track true to gauge. And you can see how this is quite an early example from the size of the chairs, the size of the blocks. But what can come later from this, trying to increase the size of the blocks, bigger chairs, bigger rails, until you get to the point in the 1840s where they gave up on a railway like this because it was just so difficult to maintain, it was so difficult to keep the gauge. And we can see evidence of the lash up, the running repairs of trying to keep a stone block railway operating. So at some point they've put a timber sleeper in here to support a rail here and a rail here. We had a timber sleeper across here, again supporting the fish-bellied rails almost at the midpoint to take some of the weight off the narrowest point where it went into the chair. But also we see how sleepers have been taken out. So there would have been originally a stone block in here, stone block here, but when the railway's going to use them being dismantled, they've been taken away. Usually they're left in situ because they're absolutely worthless. These stone blocks came direct from the quarry for 1 or 2 pence each. The valuable part of it was the iron, and we've still got some iron chairs in situ. And we can even see in plan here, after it's been rained on, these faint shadows of iron staining. This is probably the very bottom, the thickest part of the fish belly rail, leaving an impression in the soil. But as we come down to the sondage at the north end of the trench, we can see that what this railway is built on is just layers and layers of redeposited material. It's small coal, it's clinker, it's shell midden material, it's all just dumped in here, laminated with dredged material from the harbour. It's compacted down, but it's not really what you'd build a proper substantial railway on. We can see even with this stone chair here, it's moved at some point. They've recut it and they've packed it, or tried to pack it, with this really loose shell midden material. This would not work as ballast, it wouldn't work to pack. Just look how friable and soft this wouldn't work to pack or keep that sleeper block in position, but they were trying their best to keep the railway in operation. You can see in section again how very ephemeral it is. There's a sleeper block, that's a small coal, that is the ballast between the blocks. Layers of dumping and tipping, as I've just put on another bucket of small coals, and it's been trampled down by the horse over many years. And it's easy to see how a stone block railway like this could be easily lost. You see them on plans and on maps, but it's really quite ephemeral, and it's really exciting to see an exposed length of stone blocks, including their stone chairs, the metal chairs, actually in situ. And we can actually understand how they were able to make curves using the cast iron short lengths of fish belly rail. So really quite exciting, wonderful 4 days.
Don't know, just whatever you like, something appropriate.
You're not going to dig it again, are we?
Somebody will, one day.
Okay, it's day 5 here at the Waggonway, just tidying up, recording and backfill. And it's unlikely we're going to be back here again, so we're going to leave an object of ritual significance, 2023 season digging hat, into our sondage. We'll place it at this end. No other objects to place with it as it goes off into the archaeological afterlife to become part of another archaeological dig. We will see it next time in the Archaeological Matrix.